welcome to my channel. Today my video will be about answering the most searched questions about artists on Google, and I hope you enjoyed the video. We will get started right away. We'll start with, why are artists important in society? Artists have a great way of kind of interpreting difficult questions into visual form. Through that visual form, artists can influence how the general public sees a certain kind of problem. And this has been used for good and used for bad, like for example, bad would have been propaganda, good could be environmental questions. So I think artists have a kind of important role in inspiring people to act on issues that we as a humanity kind of face. But artists are also important in society to just bring pretty things into the world, you know? It's not just about really important concepts, also just making people happy, I think. Why are artists never short of money? Right. Why do artists create self-portraits? That's actually a really interesting question. I think that creating self-portraits is a very good way of investigating the different sides that you have to your personality. If you make a highly realistic portrait that can be the side of you that the world sees, then if you make this kind of very abstract, messy portrait of yourself that can then again represent the side of you that is confused, that can be sad when you have a bad day or whatever. There's just an endless possibility of doing self-portraits like this. It's just a kind of a way of self-reflection that artists use to kind of get to know themselves better, I guess. Why do artists sign their work? Because I want people to know that it's my artwork. Obviously, these days with the internet and Photoshop and everything, it's kind of easy, unfortunately, to remove the signature. Bad, don't do that. But also, usually you put your name and then the year. The year is kind of a good way, especially if you make a lot of paintings. So then when you or someone else looks at your paintings in hindsight in the future, they can kind of see the progression of your paintings based on the year and what kind of society you lived in at that time. And that makes it easier for people or yourself to kind of analyze how your artwork developed, what kind of influenced you around all that time. And that's, yeah, how I would answer that question. How do artists make money? Well, I can only speak from a point of view of a beginner artist. Obviously, this, like anything, changes when you have, I don't know, 30 years under your belt instead of 5 years under your belt. Well, one thing that's for sure is that you are gonna be spinning a lot of different plates as an artist. So you might be working on your own thing, your YouTube channel, for example. You might be working on a mural for like a commission work. You might be working for a children's book illustration, and then you might be working as a waitress. But I think the most important division in how artists make their money these days is online and in the real world. So having an online presence, I think, is really important. You have all these ready-to-print websites like Society6, Redbubble, and then you can make some money out of those. That's a good kind of side thing you have going. Then Etsy, where you can sell your original artworks. Well, the best way, obviously, to make money, because they're the originals, but they cost more money. But usually artists work at least one job that is not art related. So you might be working part-time in an office, you might be working as a graphic designer, you might be working, you know, in a bar, because you are a beginner, so you need to pay your bills, you need to eat food. And I forgot to mention art galleries. Duh. It depends where you live. You know, if you're in a small city, you might not be able to sell that many like paintings in an art gallery, but as an artist you also need to, I guess, travel to, you know, have your work in different kind of galleries in different cities. So I think to make money as an artist you have to have good organizational skills, and you can learn those. You know, if you feel like you're not an organized person, you know, YouTube is heaven for so many get organized videos, so it is definitely a skill you can learn. Let's go to the next one. How do artists see the world differently? Good question. I think that, well, like every artist is different, so I can only answer this question from my point of view, obviously, but I have learned to see the world in different ways through observing the world through a certain theme. So I'll use the plastic work that I did as an example. For that work, theme was obviously plastic. When I started to observe the world through the word plastic, it's everywhere, like you see it everywhere, and you kind of get this bit overwhelming feeling that this is not good, but that is the way that you see a world in a different way. You see a world as this place of plastic. But you don't have to have just these negative things to see the world through, obviously. Like, for example, you could use mother as a theme, and that just opens up so many different ways to kind of interpret the world. It could be a very literal kind of mother's love, or your own mother, your relationship to your own mother, or it could be taken a bit further, like Mother Nature, or like Mother Russia if you're Russian, you know, I don't know. It's just, I think a good way to start to see the world differently is pick certain themes and look at the world through the theme that you've chosen, and that is a really good way to get inspired for conceptual artwork as well. I would recommend it. What do artists do all day? Well, I watch Netflix, drink beer, eat pizza, and you know, no, you work a lot. You work. This cliche has already been debunked a million times, but let me do it again. It is not true. If you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. Instead, you do what you love, you work all the time. But at least you are really invested in what you're doing, you love what you do, you kind of want to develop yourself in what you do all the time. It just depends on what kind of artist you are. So for example, I'll just talk about painting, so this video won't be a million hours long. As a painter, I could spend one day or 1 week, depends on the project, on developing my concept, which means I will do a lot of research on the project. I'll just use the plastic as an example again, since we've gone that way, obviously. So for that project, I did a lot of research on how animals in the oceans kind of react to plastic, how microplastics work in the ocean. Before you even pick up the brush, there's a whole mountain of research behind a painting of yours. Then you create the painting, and then you try to sell the prints, you can try to sell the original, you can try to book time in the art gallery. All this, it takes a long time. And then you might have your own personal projects as well. Just, you know, not every painting has a massive concept. Then you just do these simpler paintings. You do a lot of stuff. Not to mention, if you are a YouTuber, you will spend a lot of time also editing videos. But it's all fun. So I still recommend it. Are artists liars reading answers? Okay, we'll do one more question. So I could probably do this all day, but I think you might have somewhere else to be. So how does an artist know when a composition is balanced? Awesome question. So there are some compositions that are kind of ready-made that you can start with, especially as a beginner. One of them is the rule of thirds, where you divide your painting into 3 parts. Then there is a triangle, so you kind of build your painting in that shape. And probably one of the most used composition is the golden ratio, which is this swirly thing. I'll put a picture up. Where you kind of just build your painting so that the busiest part is here. Those are pretty good ways to see that your composition is working, but then you get into abstract paintings and all the bets are off, you know. So with that kind of paintings, you kind of just go with your gut feeling. Usually what I do after when it's starting to look pretty full, you know, every 10 minutes I take a little break, you go have a coffee or whatever, and then you come back to it and you see, does this really need more work? Sometimes you can just get carried away and just get like so into the detail that the painting seems to be overworked. But I think, not always, but maybe like 90% of the time, I get this gut feeling that, okay, it's done now. And that is something that wasn't always there. A year ago, I wouldn't have been so confident about when to kind of stop working on an artwork. I think your gut feeling will tell you when your composition's balanced with help of, you know, existing patterns. Okay, well, there we go. I've answered a whole bunch of questions. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please share it, like it, and hopefully subscribe to my channel as well. I'd also like to give a shout out to Charlie Murray TV and Jarvis, who I got this great idea from. I've linked both of their videos in the description. I will be seeing you in the next video. Bye! We're going to reach the sky, feel the vibes.